One of the keystones of Chinese culture is its ideographic writing system composed of characters. There is a general agreement that Chinese characters originated from pictographs and from characters on oracle bones during the late Shang period, around 2000 BCE. Semantography and pictographs account for 2/3 of these characters. In contemporary China, particularly in the 1980s and 1990s, there were many influential avant-garde artists, including Xu Bing, Gu Wenda, Qiu Zhenzhong, Wu Shanzhuan, Liu Yonggang, and Pan Xinglei. They have coined characters and produced artwork of combined words, pseudo-calligraphy, non-conventional calligraphy, fake texts, and three-dimensional character sculptures.
Into the internet era and the new millennium, internet censorship in China, represented by the Great Firewall of China and the Golden Shield Project, has developed into a massive, complex, decentralized apparatus with a multi-layered and self-censoring structure. However, the criteria for censorship are often vaguely defined, and it is often difficult to predict what type of content will be censored. Correspondingly, young netizens seeking to avoid censorship adopt nuanced, veiled, and symbolic modes of communication, and create many coded phrases, socio-politically charged neologisms, and new slang on the internet. These new forms of speech and writing allow them to criticize and ridicule the government, and vent their resentment while avoiding outright censorship.
This strategy is perhaps best represented by the coining of a neologism for a fictional creature, Grass Mudhorse, which went viral online in early 2009. Visually, the name of this mythical horse is written in 3 innocuous Chinese characters, but orally, its pronunciation, Cao Ni Ma, which is identical except for the tones to fuck your mother, a crude expression that the state's anti-vulgarity campaign aimed to block at the time. The leading figure in this movement against the state's internet censorship is the comic artist Li Xiaoguai, who has become an icon of Chinese internet culture and youth culture. Li was born in a remote town in Guangdong province. Li struggled in school and his formal education ended in middle school, but he went on to purchase a computer in 2005 and set up his blog in 2006. In 2009, together with 16 other famous bloggers, such as Han Han and Ai Weiwei, Li was included in a book entitled China's Powerful Blogs.
Li emphasized the tremendous transformative power of blogging, a new media technology at that time, for grassroots Chinese youth like himself. Li says, "For a super-ordinary young man in a small town, the blogosphere is the only place for me to interact with the outside world, to learn about news and events, and to make friends. I can't imagine what I would be without a blog." The name of his blog, Tu Dang, literally picture gang, was inspired by and sounds like that of a Hong Kong criminal gang, head-bashing robbers, or Pu Tou Dang. By giving his strong negative opinions on certain subjects, Li hoped to make the experience of reading his comic blog as shocking as being struck on the head.
Besides his blog name, his online pseudonyms are highly suggestive too. He consistently uses Xiaoguai or Guai Guai to sign his blogs and drawings, although they are not his real legal names. As a didactic ideal in Chinese society, being Guai means one is well-behaved and obedient, and it also reflects a strong patriarchal ideology, both at the family level between parents and children and at the national level between state and its citizens. Alternatively, the original meaning of the character for Guai is perverse, deviating from the norm, contrary to reason. Li chose this paradoxical character due to its accurate representation of a contemporary Chinese person, as it indicates the discrepancy between what is expected and what is actual. Li views himself as an alternative journalist, reporting on news and events through comics and drawings, as seen in the English title of his blog, Read China in Comics. At the end of each blog entry, there are external links to social and political news reports, usually pertaining to something that bothered Li and prompted him to respond. As a talented humorist and a keenly observant social and political commentator, Li's provocative comics reference a wide range of local, national, and international issues, problems, and real-life dramas.
For example, Li's cartoons allude to the 2009 building of a so-called White House in Mianyang in Sichuan province, the sudden collapse of a 13-story building in Shanghai in 2009, The ostentatious memorial ceremony on the first anniversary of the Wenchuan earthquake in 2009, the city management officers' public auction of items they confiscated by force in Hangzhou in 2010, the removal of President Hosni Mubarak from power in the Egyptian Revolution of 2011, and the Senkaku Islands dispute in 2012. His first blog entry containing a 4-panel comic strip, dated November 13, 2006, satirized a remark made by a state spokesman a few days earlier. Chinese netizens enjoy the most freedom in the world. In the first and second frames of the comic, an internet worm wearing a headband that reads "Freedom" has indeed achieved the freedom to choose best to camouflage his identity, a reference to selecting various user IDs in order to prevent the deletion or post of blocking IDs. This worm is also free to choose from various disguises marketed under the brand name Daini, which is a semi-homophone of Daili, the proxy servers that Chinese citizens use to climb over the Great Firewall. In the third frame, the worm's costumes allow it to shapeshift, hiding under the shell of a snail or turtle, the leather skin of an elephant, or a piece of excrement, each acting as a protective shield. Thus, in the final frame, the worm laughs and ironically shouts, "Freedom!" because he is under the protection of the Golden Shield, referencing the Golden Shield project that represents China on the globe at the bottom of the cartoon.
From December 2007 to October 2009, Li published a comic column entitled Lao Na, Zu Zhang, and Xiao Li on NetEase.com, a leading entertainment website in China. Li's comics visualize 3 well-known fictional characters that netizens created on NetEases.com's signature response news forum. One of Li's comics, dated January 27, 2010, highlights the vulgarity embedded in the word 特色的, which generally means characteristic in the party's famous slogan, 建设中国特色的社会主义国家, which means to build a socialist country with Chinese characteristics, because 特色的 can also be construed as very erotic and pornographic. With a wry sense of humor, the artist suggests that the party slogan itself would be censored by the internet keyword filtering system, and thus become a victim of the very anti-vulgarity movement it had launched. As expected, his column, despite the huge popularity, was taken down from the website due to pressure from the authority.
Li became a bigger cyber celebrity during the movement to create new Chinese characters, which arose as a subversive reaction to the Ministry of Education's proposal to revise Chinese characters. In August 2009, the state proposed to reform the strokes of 44 commonly used Chinese characters. For example, the ending horizontal stroke of Wang, or King, in the upper left-hand corner of the character Qing, or Zither, would become a rising line, and the vertical stroke with a hook in the bottom part of the character Cha, which means tea, would be modified to a simple vertical line. This proposal immediately sparked a huge controversy in the virtual community, and more than 80% of online users declared themselves opposed to the project. Strongly hostile to the proposal, Xiaoguai created 44 new characters and immediately posted them on his blog in the following month. The unity of the two elements, the ideographic and the phonetic, is crucial to appreciating his work and getting the joke. It is easy to discern that this character represents the 3-character term Dang Zongyang, indicating the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party, which is the party's highest organ of authority. Phonetically, this made-up character is paired with an equally made-up pronunciation, Diang, a sort of contradiction of Dang Zongyang, that combines the initial and the tone from the first character Di with the final from the last character Yang. Although Diang is not a legitimate syllable in the Putonghua or modern standard Mandarin phonetic system, it sounds very similar to the expletive Diao, which means penis.
This is exactly the contracted or fused pronunciation of the character 代表, which means to represent. By replacing 代表with this character, Chinese netizens transformed and translated familiar party slogans into obscenities.
For example, 3个代表的伟大思想, which translates to the great thought of the 3 represents, became 3个调的伟大思想, the great thought of the 3 penises.
The next character stands for 五毛党, 50-cent party or 50 centers, a word invented to satirize internet commentators hired by the authorities to steer online discussion in favor of state policies. The going rate for when the term was coined was 50 cents per post. In the graphic rendering of this neologism, it is hard to distinguish the character Wu from the character Mao, and vice versa.
This character represents China, which means demolish that, a transliteration of the English word China, and therefore a new satiric nickname for China, where forced demolition is ubiquitous and has led to many disputes over land and much violence. The victims of these forced demolitions usually belong to the social class of Piming, which translates to fart people, the Renming people, who used to enjoy an elevated status in socialist China, have been relegated to the margin as Piming in the post-socialist period. English is sometimes included in the wordplay as well. Shitzen, a new word in Chinglish, or English with Chinese characteristics, was coined by netizens as a play on citizen. In 2010, Lee made comic drawings for 3 of these new terms, including Democrazy and Smilance, as well as Z-turn.
His comic strips satirize social ills, officialdom, and the increasing gap between the Communist Party and the people, the state and the family, and the privileged and the underprivileged. On December 3, 2009, the artist published a 4-panel strip commenting on the forced demolition that has become ubiquitous in China. The title is 2 characters, 国家, which means state or country. The first panel contains the character 家, which means family or home, in green, and the second panel, the character 国, in red, intrudes into the frame and knocks down the other character. In the third panel, the Jia character has been crushed by the Guo character, which has grown larger and more formidable. Finally, in the fourth panel, all that remains in the frame is the black character Zhong, which means grave or tomb, which differs from Jia only in the position of the dot at the top. Besides the ideographic Chinese writing, the artist utilizes the contrasting symbols of 3 colors: green for peace and life, red for the state and power, and black for death. The drawing is simple but powerful, speaking volumes about the brutal violence and numerous tragedies brought about by the explosion in the real estate development in contemporary China. Recently, in 2016, Li created a cartoon entitled All You Said Is Right, or 你说的都对. In the single frame, we see a new character composed of Zhou and a check mark. The meaning of this character as a whole is simply the combined meaning of its 2 parts, just leave and that's right, 走就对了, as the artist notes. It is obvious that this new character plays on the character Zhao by replacing the 2 interior strokes with a check mark. The Zhao family from Lu Xun's The True Story of Ah Q has recently become one of the terms used to disparage China's rich and powerful families. Li's drawing suggests that, since all of the Zhaos have said is right, the right thing for non-Zhaos to do is not to confront them, but to just leave or escape. However, in Zhao, the 2 diagonal strokes, Pie and Dan, form an X, which can be interpreted as a sign that something is incorrect. Here, the artist poses an interesting question. Where does the truth lie? The right is embedded within the wrong, and the truth simultaneously negates itself.
Li's new characters are creative works of art. In an interview, Li said his only hobby is drawing, and the Chinese characters are all pictures in his eyes. Xiaoguai said that a new Chinese character can express the moods of the netizens and the points of view towards certain events or incidents. He uses the radicals and strokes of Chinese characters precisely as a way to express his thoughts and opinions. A variety of emotions and attitudes are conveyed in Li's new characters in comic work: satire, sarcasm, ridicule, mockery, debasement, self-deprecation, and last but not least, anger.